On one hand, I want to show you a bit of a maybe or probably a petrified society, the LBK, so the linear pottery culture. On the other hand, I want to ask if our systems to deal with it, so our typological systems, are somehow petrified too. If we try to describe something petrified with a petrified system. Right. Okay. Was soll ich zu drücken?
Oh, sorry. It's
Okay, so we forget this and change directly to LBK. So just in short for the non-Neolithic researchers here, LBK is based on former Neolithic style, probably Stachyrocores in Transdanubia today, Hungary, and expanded during a time of, let's say, getting better climate, rapidly through Europe. So maybe in 3 to 5 generations, let's say 100 years, they arrive the Rhine and later on westward to France, and yeah, you see. They prefer the fertile soils of Röss, and that's somehow logical because they are the first farmers in Central Europe and bring their animals with them and even the cereals. Even the new genetic analyses say all this stuff is originated in Palestine or in the Fertile Crescent, so they brought it with them. Yes, Alexander told you already, if you have a look on the houses, you see that they are very much standardized, so they were even, let's say, included in this Neolithic package they brought in, and have an average size, so the so-called longhouses of about 30 meters and maybe 6 to 8 meters wide, and are the same for several hundred years. Then we have the pottery. The ornamentation of the pots or vessels is, at least in the beginning, very uniform too, but later on split it in several regional styles during the younger phases. So you could, it's in your terms, say it's already maybe liquidation or yeah, okay. But, however, so his very important site of Hexham shows us, for example, that even the differentiated styles of the younger LBK are still in contact. So we find here where out of several regions outside of Hexham. All in all, the end is near. So-called crisis of the LBK. In the end, we are still discussing. Once again, Hexham is a probable ritual place with several hundreds of probable sacrificed people. And second, we have some kinds of warfare, some mass graves and massacre places like Thalheim and Kilianstetten in Germany or Aspernschletz in Austria. So here we could suspect that the so-called crisis was a sign of ending petrified social structure that wasn't fit enough anymore. Yeah, let's use it as a picture to bow in the wind of change. Well, so far. Now I will show you just the so-called undetectable, because we have, this is an extreme example of New Guinea. Yeah, is this right? Okay. But I think here you can see we have more than 1,000 tribes, about 830 still living languages, social structure, economies, and equipment, by the way, are independent of these languages. So you can have two neighboring villages speaking different languages but using the same equipment and having the same economy. How can we detect such a stuff as archaeologists? Or a second one, even the same area, such stuff. So very, very important for identity, the coloring of the face and so on. And it means I belong to this group. We can't detect it as an archaeologist because we can't dig out this face paintings, for example. Even here, you can have more or less the same equipment. We would find the same adzes, the same stone tools and so on, but we cannot detect that we have another group. The opposite side, or the other way around, here we have written sources about the Iroquois in Northern America. Here, still 5 nations, later on so-called 6 nations, and we know they belong together as a liga, but if you have a closer look, most of them used burial mounds, so putting their people in a sitting position into a wooden chamber and covering it with earth. But the Seneca, so one part of this Iroquois League, they used another way, so they put their dead people on platforms in trees, something we can detect. As an archaeologist without the written sources, we would think maybe the Seneca didn't belong to this Iroquois League, because they were different in a, for us, important point. Well, apples and pears, that's a German saying, so to compare something what is at least uncomparable. Typology, maybe a petrified system too, because we change, with the arrival of pottery, our system. Here we use the stone tools, for example, to set up the term Kongomoser as a culture, but when LBK arrives, stone tools are not unimportant, but lose in this way their importance for typology, because we have something new that is more interesting for us. So vessels with decoration, we can now use them, the shapes and decorations, to create a new typological point of view, like here. Just very rough. Lauget Limburg is for us not as interesting now, because it's probably Mesolithic or maybe some cattle herding. But LBK is so-called older or early Neolithic, and then there will follow in our system the Middle Neolithic with the so-called Hinkelstein, SPK, stroke pottery, Großgartach, Rösse, whereas this one have no break in between. This would be in Middle and Eastern Germany and Bohemia, parts of Bavaria. The stroke pottery follows on the LBK, and you don't have a break in between, so it's continuous. Whereas in Western Germany, you have first in Rhine-Hesse the Hinkelstein style, followed, let's say, the kind of development by Großgartach and later on Rösse. This would be the system for pottery, very simplified. Well, now we tend to put this in blocks. So boxes, same we had before already, and but keep in mind that keep in mind that the Bandkeramik LBK is partly existing beside this Rössen, Großgartach and Hinkelstein. Well, to come back here, why do we think now these pots belong to LBK styles, so belonging still to Wandkeramik? Yeah, it's just our definition. We don't know what people thought themselves about it. And why do we say the Hinkelstein people don't belong to the Wandkeramik? They are something new, they are Middle Neolithic. It's just terminology. Okay. Here we show another kind of artifacts, so shoe last edzes, and here we would find other borders. If we use them, we would probably choose a border here, because there up you see is the shoe last adds with a drilled hole, shaft hole, and that's important because first these tools were used in a horizontal way, and then it changed to, how you say, particular, as this direction. Yeah, okay. Well, second one would maybe here, where shoe last edzes in the high version disappeared, they were not used afterwards. Or a third one we could set here, where the so-called Rössen edzes appeared. Nobody knows for what they were used, but probably something with wood again. But it differs from our ceramic typology. Very important, and now I have to hurry up, the houses. Yeah, we have on one hand later on Rössen house, where we have maybe several families, and the former LBK house with, so it's said, one family, so-called core family. I don't believe in this, but anyway. Where do we have the border between these two social important systems? So we have some houses in between, so they differ in shape. We see in development from rectangular over a bit ship-like, and later on the classic trapezoid Rössen house. Sometimes combined in settlements. So on the left we have settlement of Großgartach and Rössen, and on the right we have one of LBK and SBK. So very often they used the same house shapes, but with different pottery styles. So simplified, here we have so the one with the red crosses inside means that they have still a lot of post hole rows inside. Later on they become less, so that's the differentiation here. And if we put this in our system again, we could see border here when the first rectangular houses began to disappear and the shape was a little bit ship-like. Then ship-like with less rows of post holes. Then we could have the next border here, and at least one for the typical Western house. Yeah, to come back to the question in the beginning, when did eternity of the LBK end? I would still say, okay, I use our chronology based on the pottery, and I would answer somewhere depending on the region between 5,000 and 4,700. But combined with the other one, I have to give another answer, and I don't know. So, and thank you very much for your attention.